The technical challenges that LTE are facing are always related to mainly three components. One is the standard by itself, when it will become available and what kind of feature will be there, what's the roadmap related to the standard, because this will be an issue for the operator whether they will go for the LTE or LTE advanced. So the shorter the next generation comes, the more operator may wait. The second technical issue with regards to LTE is about the cost. What at the end of the day cost really to the operator. We know that the cost for providing a megabyte today has to be far beyond 1 cent. And we see some value proposition in the market around 2 to 3 cents, in certain markets even lower. So LTE has to come up with, or the suppliers come up with a solution of total cost of ownership that is far below that range. Third point is around devices. We all know that from the previous experiences, HSPA or UMTS or GPRS were built, the infrastructure were built, but the device came 1 year, 2 years, and sometimes even 3 years later. So the industry has to make sure that they focus on these three items. When do I think that operators should start to deploy LTE? That depends on two things. One is on their own situation, where they are today. Do they have a need to move to another generation? We've seen that some of the operators who were actually deploying service on CDMA do see that the next evolution for them will be more on LTE rather than on the UMB platform of CDMA. So they have a need rather earlier to deploy a new infrastructure on a roadmap they believe more into. The others, I would say, are more related to the development of the standard and the ecosystem around it. That is, when the regulatory environment will enable to deploy LTE. One point is related to the new spectrum that has been allocated. We know that in Europe a lot of regulators are planning to provide 100 megahertz of spectrum in the 2.6 gigahertz. Some of them have already started in Norway, in Sweden. We're looking forward to see the UK, Germany, France in the coming year. And the second part is, of course, the demand of the broadband services and the value proposition you can provide to your consumer based on a new platform. So the need basically of capacity. The cost concern for an operator in general is pressing, particularly because of the explosion of mobile broadband. So right now, the cost of providing 1 megabyte per customer is around 1 to 3 cents, depending on the usage of the package. Very often you sell a package of 15 gigabytes and the consumer is using not more than 3 or 4, so there's a factor between 3 to 5. So the average, what the consumer sees and what he really consuming is a factor of 1/3 to 1/5. So reality is that operator needs to go beyond much lower than the 1 cent, and for that the technology needs to be much more cost effective. Right now there are no pricing schemes of the suppliers announced. There are a lot of simulations that have been done which indicate a price of 1/5, 1/10 of what HSPA can provide today. However, we need to see in reality, once you go for multi-user, heavy loaded network, what the real cost of deployment are. And they have to be substantially lower than the current one to motivate the operator to move on with a new platform. Is there enough spectrum for LTE? Well, that very much depends on the markets. There is a big debate right now in Europe on the digital dividend spectrum in the 700 megahertz. In certain markets this will not be available before 2012, and there is a debate whether this spectrum will be allocated to operators, mobile operators, rather than broadcaster. So this question has to be resolved to see how much spectrum is available. On the 2.6 gigahertz spectrum or band, there is a lot of spectrum for LTE anyway. But we do not need to wait for new spectrum. There are also two other areas we can look at. One is refarming 900 megahertz, and one is to reuse the 2.1 megahertz spectrum that you have in UMTS.